Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Neha Singh. I am an undergraduate here at Cal State East Bay. I'm a third year, so I'm a junior. I'm majoring, like she said, in biology with an option in physiology and a minor in chemistry, which is a mouthful, I know. When I introduce myself, I'm really used to giving fun facts. So some fun facts about me are that I studied abroad in India for about 8 years, and I'm also polylingual, so I speak more than 4 languages. Thank you. All right. Before I get into my speech, I want to present you all with 4 different situations. And in each situation, I want you to think about how you would feel at the end of each one. All right? So for your first situation, you're in your place of residence, your home, your apartment, wherever that may be, and everything is kind of cluttered and unorganized. So you got up today and you said, today is the day that I'm going to clean everything. So you put on your comfortable clothes, you're blasting your favorite music, and you really just start organizing everything. You finish 1 room, 2 rooms, 3, and they look fantastic. Now as you walk into the 4th room, you're walking at a pretty fast pace, and you hit your foot on the door frame. So I want you to think about how you would feel in this situation. All right. For your second situation, I want you to imagine that you're at a festival, or a carnival, or an amusement park, whichever one. You're with the people that you love the most in the entire world, and you're having a great time. Someone from your friend group suggests that you go to a haunted house. Now I know that there's a lot of you in the audience that would thoroughly enjoy this, but I bet there's a bunch of you in the audience that would actually be the one to suggest this. But for this case, let's say that this haunted house has a room that is dedicated to what scares you the most. So I want you to think about how you would feel in that room. All right. For your third situation, I want you to imagine that you're going to a preschool, and you're there to go pick up somebody that you know. You're about 30 minutes late, thanks to Bay Area traffic. And so you're running down the halls once you get there, and you hear this crunch under your feet. Like I said, you're late, so you don't really pay much attention to it, and you just keep running. You go to pick up who you're there for, and as you're walking out, you see a child and a teacher crouched down on the floor, and the child is crying, holding their now crushed toy. So again, I ask you, how would you feel in this situation? All right. Now for your final situation, I want you to think about your favorite item in the whole world. Any inanimate object that you love dearly. Now I want you to imagine that it's with you, and you're going out for a day on the town. You're having fun, you're window shopping. You turn a corner, and you meet a friend that you haven't seen in a really long time. You and your friend find a place to sit down, you put your item down, and you guys talk and reminisce about old times. Hours go by, and you're having a great time, but it's time for you to go. So you get up, you say goodbye to your friend, and you go to retrieve your item, but it's no longer there. You ask around, you look around, you retrace your steps, you even call up your friend to see if maybe they have it, but it's nowhere to be found. And so again, I ask you, how would you feel in this situation? And now, sorry. And now, for the last time, I want you to think about feeling all of these emotions at once. The door frame, the haunted house, the crushed toy, and your lost item. I want you to practically imagine that you're in a haunted house, your foot is throbbing, there's a child screaming in the background, and you're looking for your item. Just everything. Feeling all of these emotions all together, it's intense, isn't it? It's almost deafening. But that is how a lot of people describe grief. The door frame is the sudden rush of pain that they feel when they find out about the situation that has caused them grief. The haunted house is the fear that encapsulates a lot of people when they begin to realize the gravity of their situation. The lost item is the encapsulating sorrow that they feel when they begin to come to terms with what has truly happened. And the crushed toy is the guilt that a lot of people face in the aftermath. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So grief, what is it? It's a culmination of all, some, or sometimes none of these things, and it's something else entirely. That's why it's so difficult to put grief into a box and define it, because it's a range and a spectrum of emotions that changes from person to person and situation to situation. It happens to us, to ones we love, and even the ones we don't. But despite grief being so common, we don't seem to talk about it very much. And in fact, there are stigmas against these already intense feelings that make it almost impossible to do so. Grief is like the treacherous waters that you see about a mile out on your boat. Now add some whirlpools, courtesy of my artistic skills, some sharks, and a giant octopus, and you have your stigmas. There are two stigmas that present themselves in almost every situation. The first is that we are weak if we show emotion, or if we cry, or if we begin to deal with our grief in any way. And the second is that we feel that we must deal with our grief alone, to avoid judgment, to avoid vulnerability, or just to avoid sharing the burden upon someone else who's not directly related. Now you may be wondering, of all the things that I could have chosen to talk about today, why grief? And the truth is that I recently faced a tragedy in my life that brought me face to face with grief and its stigmas. In 2017, September, my father passed away, really suddenly. Friends and family from all over came to India to pay their respects to me and my mom and our family, but not without imparting what they believed to be wisdom. See, in every ceremony, I had people coming up to me, telling me, imploring me, even sternly telling me all the same thing. And that was, Neha, don't cry. Do not cry. You have to be strong for your mom now. So you cannot cry. In a moment, I just simply obeyed. I really didn't know what else to do. But the trouble was that that stuck with me. I left feeling and truly believing that I had to deal with my trouble alone. Now, maybe it was my family's response to get me to feel better in the moment. Maybe they thought that, oh, if she stopped crying, she'll feel better. But it didn't really help me. Because in that moment of sorrow, why wasn't I allowed to cry? I had just lost my father, who was and still is to this day my hero. And I should have been able to grieve however I felt was right, however I saw fit. And on top of that, why did grieving make me weak? Why did crying make me weak? Why was I specifically told not to cry to exhibit strength for my family? In the moment, I didn't really understand, and to be very honest with you, I still don't. But upon reflection, it brought me down to one question, and that was, do we truly believe that the strongest people in the world are the ones that don't show emotion? No, right? No, of course not. Because the strongest people in the world are the ones that feel. The stigma that weakness and vulnerability is associated with crying and expressing your grief is what causes so many people to hide behind a mask and battle their demons alone. It is, in fact, what fuels the second stigma that makes them feel that they have to deal with everything alone. Grief is powerful. It truly is. That is the one undeniable characteristic of grief. It may be different for everyone, but it is extremely powerful. So what do we do? How can we overcome this? How do we begin to heal for ourselves and for others? Right? First and foremost, we need to understand for ourselves that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. We're all human, every single one of us in this room. You can't even try to hide it. We're all human. We all laugh, we all cry, we all get angry, sad, scared, frustrated. It's what unites us as one. because we go through a range of emotions every single day and throughout our lives. The moment we begin to understand this is the moment we can begin to heal. Now, secondly, we need to learn to listen to one another. And I mean truly listen. Because when someone is grieving, or even if they aren't, the best thing we can do for each other is listen and be there. Many of you may have heard the saying that we listen to respond. We don't listen to understand. And it's true. We've lost how to listen to understand. So together we must remember what it's like to hear someone and really be there for them. Because that's the only way we can begin to heal and begin to help others heal. Now finally, and oftentimes the most difficult one of all, is knowing that you are not alone. There are people all around you that care. Some that you know, and even some that you don't. Some of them are in this room here today. Because once we understand that we are together in this, it just becomes a little less scary. There is no weakness in something as common as grief and its expression. We as humans strive to see and be seen. Yet in the face of adversity and the face of grief, we stray away from the crowd. But just like there is no weakness in grief, there is no gain in isolation. Grief is powerful, it's true. But that does not mean it needs to scar us. Let us use and harness the power of grief to drive us to do better and be better for ourselves and each other. Because yes, there is power in grief, but there is an even greater power in ourselves to help and be helped. Thank you.